I want you guys to understand, like, this is a serious issue that continues to plague us. And sure, we can look at this as potentially a midterm election issue, but for people who have the ability to get pregnant, this is not politics. You understand? This is serious, everyday potential life and death. And it goes beyond elective abortions and all of that. So let's take up this piece from WTHR television out in Indiana, which gives us a bit of a cursory overview of the new abortion restrictions that have gone into effect in Indiana starting tomorrow, September 15th. Let's take a look.
For all the members voted, tally the roll. Roll call shows 62 ayes, 38 noes. The bill has passed. So I tell the bill remain the title of the act.
It was that vote banning abortion in Indiana. Beginning September 15th, abortions would only be allowed in cases of rape and incest before 10 weeks post-fertilization to protect the life and physical health of the mother and if a fetus is diagnosed with any anomalies. And abortions can only be done in hospitals or outpatient centers owned by hospitals. That means abortion clinics like Planned Parenthood would lose their license. Planned Parenthood won't be able to offer abortion services, but will remain open to offer birth control, primary care services, pregnancy testing, STD treatment, screenings, and more. Planned Parenthood Alliance Advocate spokesperson Nicole Irwin told 13 News, for 70% of patients we serve, our Planned Parenthood health centers are their only source of health care. This map shows several abortion clinics in Indiana. Of those, Planned Parenthood of Indianapolis performed more than 2,400 abortions in 2021. And according to a report by the Indiana Department of Health, Marion, Lake, and Allen counties had the most abortions. There were more than 8,400 abortions performed at both abortion clinics and hospitals. 133 were done across IU Health hospital systems, Eskenazi and Deaconess in the Evansville area.
So, I'm looking at that piece, Molly. For one, there's a lot about that piece that jumps out that is bothersome. I don't know why I needed to know the exact to the number of abortions that were performed in Indiana over a given period. I don't really think that's relevant, but let's put a pin in that and come back to that. West Virginia also today announced that there is a damn near total ban on abortions, and this brings the total number of states where abortion is illegal in the United States. It's practically half the country. So how do we view this ongoing steamrolling of women's bodily rights and the access to abortion care that is vitally critical to surviving a pregnancy or a failed pregnancy?
Well, I think when you look at what we're doing sort of as a nation to it, there was a lot of talk by liberal feminists in particular that we're going to take to the streets and burn it down if we end abortion. But abortion has been ended in states that are poorer, typically, and abortion has been ended for people who have not a lot of access to abortion already, even when it was legal in those states. So we haven't seen this huge mass uprising that was promised if abortion was made, if Roe was overturned. Mainly because a lot of the focus and a lot of the leadership on this is rich white women, and they don't have the same concerns that other people have. And they're very focused on this electoral strategy, which I'm not opposed to completely having an electoral strategy. I think abortion is popular, as you can see in Kansas. If you run political referendum directly on abortion, it's highly popular. I think they won 60% or something. It was a very high amount in Kansas. So I'm not opposed to electoral strategies. I think that this is a public health catastrophe and that we should attack it in many ways. But I think what you're seeing from the news media, and you mentioned CNN at the top, and when I was you asked me to be on, I pulled up just the generic, what are the news media saying about this, right? So I pulled up CNN, and it was Chris Kilzilla, is that how you say his name?
Chris Kaliza? I think it's Kaliza.
Yeah. And I pulled up his article because I knew it would be ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And his article is just a full-on analysis for the midterms and what was the secret strategy that Lindsey Graham had to do this, blah, 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 blah. And that was, and then when I started going through all of it, it was just a lot of that, this midterm analysis, how does this impact the midterms? The media is very focused on that. And to me, this is a public health catastrophe, and it is completely irresponsible to address it only as like a political fight between two parties, which is what is happening with the news media. And they're doing things too that really concern me. Like, so Lindsey Graham, the bill that he's proposed, just to be clear off the top, it's not going to pass. Like in this Congress, it's not going to pass. It's probably not. I mean, it probably is going nowhere. And he has proposed this bill multiple times before. I think maybe in every Congress he has proposed this bill. So it's not like a new bill, but I just want to like read the name of it just because I want to like, I do think that Lindsey Graham does have a strategy. Like, I don't think I think his, whatever he wrote was ridiculous, but like, I don't think he's wrong. I do think he has a strategy, but I want to like, if I read you the name of this, it's called Protecting Pain Capable Unborn Children from Late Term Abortion. So that's like the name that he's giving this. And a lot of the like news media, some of it is pushback, but a lot of it has like just used this late term abortion stand. They've used this like protecting from pain. Like there's been some discussion about this. This is medical like bullshit. Like it's just not a real thing. And late term abortion, first off, that's not a medical term. It's like a completely made up term. And even if it wasn't a completely made up term, when it's been used before, it's been used to talk, you're talking about abortions in like 21 to 24 weeks as opposed to 15 weeks. So like, it's a really masterful use of the media to do kind of like what their plan is, which is to do this. They want to outlaw not just abortions at 15 weeks, they want to outlaw abortions completely. Like if they get this passed, they'll pass more. And they're using this like reframing of what we're talking about, and they're getting lots of coverage of it. And you know, there's like some of this like Mitch McConnell is mad, he didn't want to do this, and Susan Collins is like, oh, how dare you? And like it's just not. It's just not like, it doesn't matter. Like they have no intention of winning elections by rules anymore. Like that's very clear. And they have no intention of like, you know, like they are playing to their base, sure, but they're also like, they're playing this long game that they have played since the 80s on abortion, and they're going to play it on everything else too. Like they're coming for trans people, they're coming for gay rights, they're coming for everything. They're coming for your birth control. And like this Christo-fascist like regime is like on the way, and the Democrats and the news media just seem like wholly incapable of addressing it, which is very worrisome.
Let's take a look at Lindsey Graham's press conference and, you know, sort of examine and be listening out for the very things that you just laid out there, Molly, because as you said, you know, the conservatives are extremely adept at their messaging, at their framing, and they're counting on the laziness of the mainstream media to not do follow-up questions, to not push back on certain things like, oh, surely Senator Graham is introducing this because he doesn't want infants to feel pain or fetuses to feel pain. And it's like, well, has anyone talked to a doctor? Has anyone asked the doctors about the medical validity of even the naming of such a piece of legislation? But let's take a listen to Lindsey Graham and what he had to say.
Graham, what would you say to somebody like me who found out that their son had an anomaly that would make him incompatible at life in 16 weeks? I had regular appointments, I did everything right, and at 16 weeks we found out that our son would likely not live. When he was born, he lived for 8 days. He bled from every orifice of his body, but we were allowed to make that choice for him. You would be robbing that choice from those women? What do you say to someone like that?
Here's what I would say. The world pretty much has spoken on this issue. The developed world has said at this stage into the pregnancy, the child feels pain. And we're saying we're going to join the rest of the world and not be like Iran. As to your particular case, there'll be exceptions for life of the mother and rape and incest. But, well, ma'am, there were 55,000 abortions after the 15-week period. And I think we're resolved to get America back in line with the rest of the world. And we won't know where America is until we vote, until we debate. And so to my Democratic friends, you're going around calling all of us every name you can think of. We're a bunch of wackos. Your idea is wacko, not ours. Let's vote. Let's vote. Give me a chance to vote on this bill. We'll take her considerations and we'll vote. Now, I guarantee if we have a debate on the floor of the United States Senate where we can explain what we're doing versus what they would do, we'll do really well with the American people. And over time, God willing, we're going to be like the rest of the world and not like Iran at the federal level when it comes to abortion. We're going nowhere. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so that was Lady G surrounded with his cadre of basic bitches. And I said it, I don't know who them chicks are, but any woman that would stand behind a man that would sit up there and advocate from a federal perspective that your bodily rights be restricted or outright denied, you are a basic bitch. I don't know what else to call you. But anyway, let's get back to some of the things that he said. And you're right, Molly. So this bill that Graham has introduced, it does not stand a chance of getting passed in this Senate, but a different Senate with a Republican majority and potentially a Republican vice president who may be there to, you know, cast a tie-breaking ballot. No, this kind of ban could actually go into effect at the federal level if the Republicans are able to secure Congress and the control of Congress again. That's what really scares me about this bill, even though you said he's introduced it many times before. Once they get back into control of the legislative branch, they could actually enact something like this.
And when he introduced it, Roe was the law of the land. So even if it had passed, it wouldn't have really mattered. And I think it sort of speaks to, I mean, a lot of things Lindsey Graham did were just infuriating and like made my blood pressure roll. I do want to talk just briefly about the rest of the world thing, because that particularly pissed me off. But like when he's talking about France has a 15-week ban. And I just want to be like really clear about like how bad American healthcare is. So when you're talking about a 15-week ban in France, you're talking about women who have had access the entire time with very little restriction, with payment from the government for their abortion if they want one, and where they can get them at many more places than in the United States. A 15-week ban to somebody who is like, let's say in one of the banned states like Alabama, and Alabama is surrounded by banned states. So like, I think the closest place right now before 15 weeks is maybe Florida, and then that's going to be gone soon. And then you're talking like places like Illinois, you know, like that people from Alabama are going to have to go to. There's long waiting lists at every clinic that is next to a banned state and ones that are further out even. And, so you're talking about like time, and there's all these weird rules that they're trying to pass. Like Alabama is trying, like, you know, if you leave the state, you could be charged in Alabama with aiding and abetting, maybe like an abortion. I don't think that's the law in Alabama right now, but there are states that are trying to pass those laws. I think Texas has something that's sort of similar to that they're trying to work on. So you're talking about women that are people that are going to get it pushed back further and further when their abortion is going to be. So it's not like the rest of the world is like, oh, we have abortions up to 15 weeks. And there's a million exceptions in France, of course, after 15 weeks. But these, like anybody that in France or in most of Europe that goes, not Poland, that goes for an abortion has like a lot more medical options and a lot more care than the United States does, particularly poor people and people in red states in the United States. So that just pissed me off. But
of course, because the audacity of Lindsey Graham to sit there and say that, oh, we need to keep America in line with the rest of the world. The rest of the world has standardized healthcare, has universal healthcare provided for the citizens. So let's start there, Senator Graham. Let's bring America up to that standard before we start picking and choosing about who has rights to healthcare and who does not. But, you know, the other aspect, the thing that Lindsey Graham said that really kind of got on my nerves when he, for one, I don't understand why he was singling out Iran, right? Because I love it when the
Orientalism,
the creeping Sharia and the creeping Islamophobia, you know, will always leap out of these Christian evangelicals. Like, you know, don't be like those Muslims, but it's like actually within Islam, pregnant women have way more rights and things available to them than currently abortion restrictive states here in the United States.
I think Iran actually might have, I think he was pointing to it because Iran actually does have a really liberal abortion law. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think he's pointing to it to be like, we don't want to be like Iran, like, because Iran lets their women have abortions like up until whenever. So I think that was actually what he was trying to do as opposed to the other way around. But the Democrats do it the other way around where they're like, oh, Sharia law, it's like, it's not Sharia law, it's Christo-fascist.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern time.